You, and only you are responsible for the results that you're getting in your life. What you have, how you be, what you experience is completely up to you. You are the creator of your reality, and whatever your results are is showing you what you're unconsciously committed to. What's up, guys? My name is Jacob. I'm here to support you in remembering your innate wholeness that is within you, your joy, your inner peace, your expansive nature. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how the victim mentality can be such a big trap for us, and all the little ways that this mentality, this construct, this way of being shows up in our life. I remember when I first learned the concept of you are the creator of your reality. At first, when I heard this truth, it was very uncomfortable because my life was not what I wanted it to be. And that's a hard pill, a hard truth to swallow when your life isn't what you want it to be. When your life isn't what you want it to be and someone tells you you've created it, that's the last thing that you want to hear. But it's also the truth that sets you free, because in this now new moment, the past is gone, the future is to come, but in this present moment, you now have the opportunity to change and create something new. It's the truth that will set you free. And when we're operating as a victim, we're giving our power away to outside circumstance. Things externally that are happening to us, woe me, poor me, it's the government's fault, it's my family's fault, it's my parents' fault, it's society's fault, it's the education system's fault, everybody's fault but myself. And this mentality will ruin your life, and it might already doing that right now. So there are three ways to determine, or they call it the victim drama triangle. And at each side of the triangle, there is a different aspect of being a victim. Now, we have the victim who is acting in poor me, woe me, it's I can't do anything, I can't control anything. They are the victim. Now, that's easy to understand. What is interesting, though, is the other parts of the victim triangle. And one of the corners, you have the rescuer. Now, the rescuer is an enabler. They're a pain reliever. They perpetuate codependency, and they think it's their job, their responsibility to save people. And what this does is that it perpetuates that illusion that someone else outside of you is going to take care of you and help you save. They're going to save you. They're going to help you change your life. When I try to save someone, now that victim has an alibi, has an excuse that something outside of them is going to be the thing that changes their life, and it continues this illusion. And it is not your job to save anyone. In fact, I would argue that it's impossible to save anyone. Now, there's practical things like saving someone's life physically, but I'm talking on an emotional, personal happiness, well-being level of creating a life of your dreams in every area of life, whether that's finances or your health or your relationships. You are 100% responsible for the results that you're getting. And we can't change we can't control what happens to us. We can only choose how we respond. And how we respond to what happens next determines what we get next. And now the other part of the triangle is going to be the persecutor. They're critical, they're blaming, they put people down. It's the other person's fault. And this is another element of that triangle that perpetuates the illusion of victimhood, because what they're doing is that they're putting the victim down and telling them, hey, this is your fault for how I'm feeling. It's your fault for what I'm getting. It is you who are the problem, and you need to change in order for my life to get better. And this is just, when you just put it in that context, it sounds absolutely insane. It's insanity. It's crazy. And so many people, myself included, for the longest time, operated from this place. Now, if you are operating out of any of those areas, Don't worry, because there are ways of starting to take ownership for your life and awaken to how your thoughts are creating your reality, how your feelings are manifesting your life, what energy are you putting out into the world, where are your actions going, what behaviors and patterns are you presenting to the world that's then reflecting it back to you, because we're witnessing a mirror, as above so below, as within so without, and how we're showing up in the world is determining what's coming back to us. So one of the key ways of noticing when we're being a victim is through our language. Say you get triggered and you have an emotional reaction from a family member or a friend that says something that makes you feel that's key, that you notice that you have a feeling that comes up. And when you have a feeling that comes up, what the tendency that tends to happen when someone else says something and we feel this emotion, we tend to use words like "you made and make me feel this way." And whenever you're using these words, you're operating out of victim consciousness. So if someone says something and they triggered you and you go, "Hey, don't say that. You made me feel this way. You make me feel this way." Whenever you have your fingers pointed at something else, you have four fingers pointing back at yourself. I'm sure you've heard that before, and this is what it means. That when we are externalizing how we feel and we're putting blames and labels on things outside of us for the reason for how we feel, we have no power. So the key is, first of all, looking at our language and beginning to shift how we relate to life. If someone says something that triggers you and you begin to feel an emotion, how you can begin to take ownership for that experience is, hey, I noticed that I'm feeling this when I heard you say this. What I'm hearing you say, and you use the word "I," and you put it back on yourself, and you take responsibility for how you're feeling. This then gives you the opportunity to create something new, because you can get curious about that. For example, I used to, with my peers and my friends, whenever we were having a conversation or a debate about something that we cared about, and when they no longer wanted to engage in the conversation, and I still had more to share, and they'd go, "Nope, I'm done. Like, I don't want to talk about it anymore." And I didn't feel like I fully got to share share what I wanted to say, and get some things that I wanted to say off of my chest, and continue to share my experience. I felt shut down. I immediately felt my heart close. I immediately choked up. I immediately got heavy, watery in the eyes, and I felt sad. I felt this really deep sadness. And for the longest time, my reaction to that would just be to, you're not letting me say what I want to say. You're not letting me share myself, and whether saying that out loud or saying it in my mind to myself and judging them for being done with the scenario. And I would shut down. I'd get really like sad and closed and clammy, and that was just how it was. And for the longest time, I didn't know how to shift out of that. So I got triggered many times, until the day when I realized that I'm responsible for how I feel and what I'm experiencing in my life. That was what set me free, because the next time that pattern came up, I was able to get curious about why I'm actually being triggered in the first place. So someone would shut me down, and I didn't get to share what I wanted to share, and I'd get sad. And instead of going, "Hey, you cut me off. I don't feel good when you do that. You made me feel this way when you cut me off," I go, I notice I'm feeling sad. Why is that? Where is that coming from? Interesting. Breathe, open, back up, feel the emotion. Where is that coming from? And what I started to discover was an emotional reaction that had nothing to do with the actual person involved, and it brings me back to my childhood. Now our pre-7-year-old is running our life. We form most of our core beliefs 7 and under, and these core beliefs shape our perceptions and how we view the world, and then that determines our behaviors and how we act. And that determines our feelings, and then our feelings determine how we act, and then how we act determines the results we get. So I'd have this feeling, and I'd go, where am I feeling this way? Where is this coming from? And what I realized is that as a child, whenever I was getting punished, or I was having a consequence for one of my actions, and I was going to get a spanking, or I was going to get grounded, and I wanted to explain myself. I wanted to explain why I did what I did. What my dad would do would, both my parents, what they would do sometimes if I wanted to explain myself is, hey, be quiet or I'm going to give you 2 spankings. Be quiet or I'm going to ground you for 2 weeks instead of 1 week. And I immediately had to shut down. I immediately had to be quiet, and I didn't feel heard and seen. We all just want to feel heard and seen, but are we hearing and seeing other people, and are we hearing and seeing ourselves? And I didn't feel heard and seen in those moments. And that happened so many times that I created a coping mechanism. Now, these patterns there's no one to blame. You're not to blame your parents. You're not to blame society, because everyone's doing the best that they can at the level of consciousness that they are operating out of. And your parents probably had their own, they did have their own programming, their own patterns, their own traumas that was inflicted on them through their childhood and their upbringing, and so on and so forth. It goes back generations. So this isn't about blaming anyone about, oh, my parents gave me this trauma, so now I have this emotional reaction and I can't save it. It's just to feel the energy of that. It's not very empowering. It's just like, blah. What we get to do is take ownership for it, get curious, have compassion towards our parents because they probably had the same thing, have compassion to our teachers, to authorities, to where those things came from, and realize that when we form these patterns, oh, okay, I can't speak up, I can't explain myself, I can't share why I did something, because I'm not good enough. That was the pattern that shaped in my head when I got shut down, when I was getting punished. And when you begin to reason with yourself, because when you're a child, you don't have reasoning, you don't have your conscious mind isn't fully developed. You don't understand that when your mom yells at you, a child doesn't put together in their head, oh, my mom's just yelling at me because she's stressed out. No, they take it personally, and they take what they feel, and that becomes imprinted in the body. There's no logic. There's no reason. It's just a sponge. You're just absorbing that experience. So for me, I took on the belief that I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to be heard or seen or explain myself or speak up, and I just shut down. And these are patterns. One way that we can support ourselves in letting go of these patterns is becoming aware that they kept us safe. They kept us safe because when my dad or when my mom told me, hey, be quiet or I'm going to give you another spanking, or hey, be quiet, I'm going to give you grounded again, me shutting down and creating that pattern of not speaking up and not explaining myself kept me safe because I didn't want to get hurt. I didn't want to get another spanking. I didn't want to get grounded for longer, and it kept me safe. But now, being an adult, I don't have those issues anymore. I don't have a parent that's spanking me or threatening to spank me if I speak up again. These things don't even exist anymore. Yet that belief system was running in my life. It was playing out in so many areas of my life. So when I started to get curious about that and ask questions, what am I feeling? And I felt it, and actually go into the feeling. You have to feel it to heal it. You can't just positive mindset yourself out of this. You have to feel it to heal it. So the next time I was with a friend and they didn't let me fully explain myself and I got triggered and I felt that feeling, what I would do is that I would actually go into it. And how much can I actually feel this feeling? And I'd be breaking down and crying and feeling the trauma of it, all the things, and allowing my inner child to have a voice, to be heard, to be seen that it didn't get when it was younger. Reparenting yourself in the way that an unconditionally loving parent would do. And this isn't saying that your parents don't love you. Of course they do. But it shows up in many different ways, and through domestication and conditioning, it can be manipulated. The energy of love can be manipulated through our minds and what it actually is. So I went into the feeling, gave myself the love, held myself in that trauma, and asked, why am I feeling this? Oh, because I don't feel like I'm good enough. And then you ask yourself, well, is that really true? Where is there evidence that I am good enough? Well, I exist. I am 80 to 100 trillion plus unique cells. I have my own voice box. I have my own fingerprints. I was created. I was good enough to be created. Where else is there evidence? Well, people have told me that they love me. I have great friends. I have amazing, my parents do love me, or there's been some type of figure in my life that says I'm a good person and they like who I am. So there's more evidence that I am good enough. Is this story that I'm not good enough even really true? Or was it projected onto me from some external source that wasn't even mine? And this puts it in perspective so then we can then heal it. And I was like, okay, well, that's not even true. Then what do I want? Well, I want to feel free. I want to feel heard and seen. I want to give voice and expression. I want to be able to explain myself and I want to feel love and compassion and connection with my relationships. So the next time I showed up, and then I got to ask myself, what's the new thought or belief or perception that is in alignment with what I want? Well, I hear myself. I see myself. It doesn't matter what other people are thinking or if they don't hear me or see me. I know my value. I know my worth. Does everybody have to listen to what I have to say? Does everybody have to listen to my opinions? Does everybody have to hear me in order for me to feel whole and complete and loved and good enough? No, that's absurd. And there's going to be millions of people on the planet who don't like you and don't want to hear what you have to say, and there's going to be millions of people that do. So determining your worth and your good enough, me determining my worth and my value and if I'm good enough on what other people are listening to me or not, it was absurd. It's impossible. So I got to say, I know I love myself. I am good enough. I was born good enough, and there's nothing that can take that away. Now, what's the action I get to take to create that? Maybe that's going to a self-love practice. Maybe that's doing something that represents that you are good enough, taking actions on your dreams, or speaking up next time when you feel like you're shutting down and you're not being heard or seen, and actually speaking up. And what I noticed over time is that when those patterns come up again, I get shut down and I get triggered, and I have that feeling. What I noticed is that now it was in contact. Oh, thank you. Hey, thank you for letting me know that you're still feeling this way. Remember, we talked about this. You are good enough. You hear yourself. Remember, that's not actually true. That's just a story from your past, but it's just a story. That's all it is. It's a story. It's not really true. And over time, as I begin to remind myself that whenever that pattern shows up, it comes up, give it love and not judge it, because it still wants to feel seen and heard. That part of you, it's still feeling like kind of like hurt. And that's okay, because it was a conditioning that happened throughout your life. And you start to give yourself that space. And you start to, when it shows up, just remind it, hey, thank you for letting me so there. And remember, this is what we're now choosing. 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 And after time doing that over and over and over again, now when I don't get to fully explain myself or someone shuts down and they don't want to listen anymore, the trigger doesn't even happen anymore. The emotion is completely gone because I've felt it. You feel it to heal it. You allow the emotion, energy in motion, allowing the feeling to move through you and feel it fully. Like, for example, kids, when they get upset, what do? They cry, they scream, they rage, they get it all out, they shake, they roll around the floor, and then 2 minutes later, they're back to playing again. Like nothing happened because they fully felt it. But as we get older, we get taught that it's not safe to feel our emotions. People won't like us because we're being vulnerable and sharing our emotions. And we carry all these stories that block us from feeling fully. So it's like a muscle. It's like learning to reconnect to your inner child and that joy in your feeling center. The depth of your ability to be able to feel is the depth that you're able to experience life. So the more deeply you can feel grief, feel your pain, the more deeply you can feel your joy, your love, your peace. So now when that pattern shows up, it doesn't even faze me anymore. Like I've reconditioned myself to the point where the emotion is not even there. Don't even get triggered. So that's just one example. And there's been so many areas of my life that I've applied this wisdom to that changed my life, from learning, from reading from books, from having my mentors and learning this information and applying it into my own life has changed the game. So one of the simple things that you can start doing right now to start taking ownership of your life is to stop blaming external circumstances on how you feel and begin to get curious and take responsibility, because you feel what you focus on. Self-responsibility breeds empowerment. And as long as we remain the victim and the outside world, it's fault, it's everyone else's fault but your own for the results that you have, you will continue to get the same shitty results and live in struggle, sacrifice, and hardship because you can't change it from the place of being a victim. So realize that you are the creator of your reality, your thoughts and feelings and emotions and everything. You are powerful beyond measure. You have the capabilities to experience what you want to experience. Focus on gratitude. Focus on what you want to create. What do you actually want? Get clear. What do you actually want? And then start moving in that direction. If you're not moving in the direction of something that you want, even in the slightest inch, you are stuck in some bullshit excuse, validation, or story as to why you can't have it. I love you guys, and I want everyone to realize their innate wholeness, their innate ability to create the life of their dreams, because the more people we have on this planet, good people, good-hearted people that learn how to create that dream life and are able to obtain resources and are able to share this message with the world, we can then support each other in creating a more magnificent world together, a more compassionate, more loving, a more caring world. And it begins with you. It begins with you taking responsibility for how you feel, the results that you get, and how you respond to what shows up into your life. So stop being a victim, claim your power back. I love you guys. I hope you have a beautiful day and night. And remember your wholeness. If you got value out of this video, like and comment and share down below. Have a beautiful night. Peace.